Good morning, everyone. Today is Tuesday, March 18th, 2025. We're calling the meeting to order at 9 a.m. All right. Approval of minutes for February 18th, 2025. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
You do?
Any discussion? Motion has moved and approved. Okay, let's move into public comment. Do we have any public comment? Do we have anybody on Zoom?
Just me.
Okay, good morning, Doug.
Morning.
All
Morning,
right.
Doug. Morning, Doug.
Morning.
Action items, utility relief. I don't think we have any utility. relief. Morning, so
That's a first.
making sure. Right, let's move on to discussion and information items. Karen, you're on.
Okay. First, I'll give you a status on all of our projects. From water perspective, phase one obviously is complete. We're going to get the training set up so the team knows how the shake alert valves work, what to do when we get an alert that the valve is sensed motion. Phase two should resume in May. This is pulling of the HDPE lines from the springs on down to our wastewater or to our public works yard. We did all the preliminary work this past year as far as the drilling to be able to pull the HDPE pipe. So that will resume. Phase three, we have successfully secured the easement with the conference center. So life moves on. We're about 90% engineering complete, and we should be issuing the bid in the coming months. We're not completely done with the bid documents yet. Till the engineering's complete, obviously can't put it out. But we have the funding to build the reservoir. So that's where we are with that. 3A is the transmission backbone along Highway 101. We're about 70% complete with the engineering of that. That is the phase of the project that we're chasing the FEMA BRIC grant for $7 million. We just made another milestone within that project yesterday. We have another one to meet on Friday. So there's multiple milestones throughout this process that we have to meet to keep up with the approval process. Our absolute drop dead date is March 31st. So that's when we sit and wait to see. At the same time, we have a loan application going through Business Oregon for the exact same project. So the intent there is if we do not get the FEMA grant funding, then hopefully we will get another low interest loan from Business Oregon as we have the rest of the project. But we're really hoping that we secure that grant. So keep your fingers crossed. That phase will complete the entire project. And so everything that we set out to do with the water resiliency will have complete funding and will be well on its way to completion. The Haystack Waterline Loop, we just issued the public bid, did the opening, and yesterday officially awarded it to Tapani Incorporated. We got 4 bidders. We took it to council. They gave us the nod for the apparent low bidder, and we issued the notice yesterday. So that project should start in May, and that is to bring the water line from Hemlock and Orford across to the east side of the highway up into Haystack Heights so that we loop that system. Currently, it is a one-way in and one-way out water line. And so this will loop the system, increase the water pressure, and obviously our ability to have defensive fire protection in that neighborhood. So that project should end in its entirety on or before September of this year. So we'll be working, we're going to start in the Haystack Heights neighborhood first and work our way west just because of the dynamics of the neighborhood and the desire of the 2 homeowners that gave us a utility easement to be able to get into that neighborhood and do this project, they've asked that we get in and get out of that neighborhood so they can enjoy their homes for the summer and not have Haystack Heights torn up. So we're going to do that. Phase 2 of that water Haystack Loop will be a water line replacement on East Chinook. And in that phase of it, we will be adding a hydrant that is not in this first phase. So we will have to get the funding for that East Chinook. That is also a master plan project. So probably in the 26-27 budget, we'll be looking to do that, if not sooner. From roads perspective, we have a preliminary design for the rebuild of our Tullavana vehicle ADA ramp at the state parks property. That's been a cross-functional team with all of our first responders, police, fire, emergency management, OPRD, State Parks, that owns the property adjacent to our platted street, and of course, our city staff. We had an engineering firm take a look at that area and give us 3 or 4 options that we could consider. What we're accomplishing in this project, which is also a master plan project, is to rebuild the vehicle ramp that is in disrepair currently and needs to be rebuilt. But with that effort, we want to redesign that ADA ramp that is high maintenance, costly for the city to maintain every year. And it's just a log catcher. And a good portion of the year, it's not usable because it's full of logs because of the tide. So the engineering firm gave us several really outstanding options. I'm going to be taking those to council. Let's see here. I think in our April meeting, if I'm not mistaken, and show them the options, let them know the one that the team desires to proceed with. It's not for them to make a decision necessarily. It's for them to give me the nod. We're going in the right direction. There's obviously going to need to be some tweaks as we start to engineer. But the purpose of them giving us the nod is that we don't want to spend any money engineering and surveying and all this type of stuff. And then to say that's not at all what we wanted this to look like. And so if they give us the nod, then we're going to chase a grant that's available for us. We have already submitted a grant that will cover the design expense, although that's in our approved budget currently. If we can use grant money and not use our own, that's a good thing. So we're pursuing that. The other thing that this project will get us is that we will be a very strong candidate for ship to shore drops in an emergency. When we did the exercise with the Navy, the military back in 2018 up at Sunset Beach in Gearhart, they came down and looked at this area as other areas as well to see potential spots where they could do a ship to shore drop. And the discussion was if we were to rebuild that ramp, we could be a strong candidate for that. So when we're doing the design, we're doing it with the sense that we could be receiving sizable drops at that ramp. So watch the council meeting. I'll send you guys a note, let you know exactly what date that is. I can't remember if it's April or May, but I think it's April. And it'd be nice for you guys to watch that. I didn't want to share it with this team before the council has a chance to see it. But obviously you're part of the cross-functional team and can attend any of the public meetings concerning this, and they're all posted. So feel free. Let's see. And obviously, once council gives us the nod, then we actually go through the city process. So it'll go to the planning commission. I don't know yet. I'm checking in with Steve and Robert to see if it needs to go to design review board. I'm not sure that it would need to. I don't think there's anything that would impact them, but we're checking all those boxes off. And of course, have to issue a bid for the construction, case the funding and all that. So we're very, very early in the process. But first and foremost, we just had to get a preliminary design nailed down so we knew what what funding we're chasing, so. First Street Bridge, Jan will be excited to hear this. We're about in the same spot as we are with the Talavana ramp. We have some potential options for seismic retrofitting as well as rebuild if the council decided they wanted to go that route. That is not what the staff will be recommending. We'll be recommending a seismic retrofit and potential option that we have for that. That's going to be taken to council as well. So the good news is it can be retrofitted. Obviously, everything costs money, so we have to pursue funding. You know, despite the chatter relative to federal funding right now and the new administration, all the people that we're working with, it's still, things are still a go. We're still moving until we hear the rug's been pulled out from under us. There are federal dollars being approved as we speak for projects. So there's still money there. There's still money being awarded. There's still money available. And we're going to chase it until I hit a brick wall and there's no money left. And so I'm hopeful there is a lot of bridge money available, more than I ever even realized is available. So that's a good thing.
Thank you for carrying it on.
You bet. Good. I need that.
Very good. Keep
I need that, especially now.
Yeah.
dodge,
Um,
dodge those.
The First Street Bridge as well, when I go to budget, I'll be proposing a new bus stop in that area. We've had residents ask why we don't have a bus stop in that area. We were hoping to be able to piggyback that on to the NACUS rehab of the old school if that went forward. And since it's not, I'm going to ask council and budget committee if they would consider allowing me to go ahead with the bus stop. And it will be in the little park that's directly across the street is what we're proposing. Again, it's early. We have to do, the design would be just like our others. But we have to survey and make sure that the footprint is such that we can do it in our property, or if we have to get some sort of an easement agreement, if it's going to overlap on the conference center property in that area. So it's early. I just need approval that they will allow another one to go in place, and then we'll take off running on that. And you'll notice in town, our current bus stops, as a lot of people have mentioned, are in disrepair. They haven't been touched since they were built, and many of them need roofs, and they're not in good shape. So we have a contractor that is going through and improving all of them that need to be. I think we have, is it 9 bus stops? And I think all but 3 needed complete overhauls. So you'll see that activity. They'll stay the same as how they look today. It's just all the wood on it is being redone. So wastewater.
How many?
Huh?
I did
I didn't
9.
realize we.
Wastewater, you guys know we finished Midway and Siusla expansions. We put a new generator at Ecola. We are proposing a new generator we did the new generator at Maine, and we are proposing a new generator out at the wastewater plant and Pacific, which is back behind here by the Wayfair. Those 2 are the next 2 generators that are giving us some problems. We're spending a lot of money and electrical costs trying to keep those things running. And so like the other ones, it's time to replace them. So that's in our budget this
How
year.
old is that Pacific generator?
I'm sorry.
How old is the Pacific generator?
It's older than me, that I've been here.
I think when we looked at the records, I want to say it was 12 or 13. I think it's 13 years old. We did an overhaul of that pump station, but we never replaced the generator when we upgraded that pump station. And so it's time. And a lot of people say, well, 10 or 13 years isn't very long. Picture your car sitting in the garage, never being driven, but just turned on once in a while. our generators are exercised weekly. That's what the manufacturer recommends, but until we have a power outage, they're not actually running. And so the best exercise they get is when we have a power outage, but nobody wants that. So it's hard on the generator.
And it's not outside the majority of it.
Yeah, I'm sure that's its life expectancy, especially here on the coast, you know.
Right,
And like Matanuska, that generator's been out in the elements.
Yeah.
We put the cover over the one at Matanuska, and in the, process of looking at overhauling that complete pump station, when we had the overflow, we realized that generator needed to be replaced. It was a natural gas, and we wanted to get a diesel, which is now standard in our fleet. And so same thing, any of these natural gas generators, we're replacing them with diesel when they begin to fail. Instead of putting a lot of money into trying to put lipstick on a pig, we just cut the dog's tail off and say we're replacing it. We work with Peterson Cat. They have a rehab used trade-in credit type of a organization within their corporation. And sometime, depending on what generator, its age and its condition, they will give us trade-in credits and or they will purchase the generator from us. So that helps offset the expense of a new generator. If that doesn't happen with Peterson Cat, then we put it out on the city's auction site and they were sold that way. So there is some offset to the new purchase when it comes to generators. And if you've walked the trail around the wastewater plant, you'll see that we are doing basin maintenance. So we've gone into both the basins and replaced all of the membranes. Trevor, you can talk about the technical parts of it, but the things that grind up the waste. So both basins have been completely rehabbed. We will run 2 basins from now on. Just because of the tourism spike, it's causing pressure on the plant. We've always been able to just run 1 basin successfully. The second one was kind of our backup basin. If we had to take the main basin out of service for maintenance or we had any failure, the second basin could operate. We're at a point now where we feel we need to run both of them. So it takes a lot of ramp up to prepare for that, so that the food, if you will, is at the proper level. And all of our DMR reports that go to the DEQ and the state, our numbers aren't upset by this change. And it's a radical change when you're getting ready to run 2 basins versus 1. So we've been working with an engineering firm that's assisting us ramping up for that, watching all of our operating numbers to make sure that we don't have things going off the cliff. We've been communicating with DEQ throughout the entire process, so they know what we're doing, why we're doing it, what we expect the outcome to be, and how we're measuring all of this as we transition. So that's been a huge undertaking. Mike, Marty, and Jet are doing an incredible job on this. Huge undertaking. See. Recycle, we will be receiving federal funding. This is an Oregon state mandate. It's called RMA, Recycle Modernization Program. You can Google that and it will tell you everything about this mandate. It's not optional, it is mandatory. And the purpose of that is for every location to be able to make a greater impact on recyclables, particularly plastics, which is what our focus is going to be. They are kind of going back to the root cause, if you will. So they're going after the big box stores like Costco, any of the manufacturers that seem to encase everything in these plastic contraptions, if you will, to prevent shoplifting. All those items, some of them cannot be recycled and some of them take a long time to break down. So this is an initiative that came through. We are kind of landlocked where we are with the recycle. So talking about taking more volume in is a challenge for us. But what I have submitted to the state is that Our focus is going to be plastics. I'll be working with Recology to see how they can help us relative to additional bins, different style bins, because they have an initiative of their own as a trash carrier, but then so does the municipalities and so on. So it's touching everybody throughout the state. Our intention at the city, and this is very preliminary, so I'm gonna say, don't hold me to this in the sense that I have to finish the plan, take it to council, make sure that they're agreeable to what our strategy is. Like I say, we're kind of limited because of our footprint. A lot of other places are just expanding. You know, they have the space to do that. We don't. So there is some expansion that we can do. There's some changing that we can do relative to what we're receiving today, what we could receive in the future. And so I'm going to be doing kind of a white paper, if you will, that is a recommendation to the council after the state says, yep, that qualifies for the use of this money that you're going to get. And so they give us the money, but they want us to do certain things with that money. So I'll be taking that to council as well. Timing is good for this in that Andrew is retiring after 33 years with the city. And we have hired a new young go-getter that served 2 summers with us as our seasonal employee. He's a Cannon Beach local, and he's got great ideas. And so this will be fun. So we might be delayed just a little bit while the temporary staff trailers are out in that area and we're getting City Hall and PD built. But that's okay, because it'll give me plenty of time to work on the report. And I've let the state know that gives us this money that there may be a little bit of a lag time, and they're okay with that. They understand these things. So good things going on in recycle. Parks, we are almost finished with the Midtown expansion. I talked to you last month. We had quite a sizable punch list from the contractor that did the job. The most critical aspect was a railing around the ADA parking that we had to address. It was not properly done in the design and the build. And so we had to make some adjustments to get right with the ADA requirements. That is finished. And so hopefully this weekend, our porter service will be polishing and sealing the concrete floors. They're open and porous right now. So if we were to have an overflow of a toilet, all that material would adhere to that raw concrete. And so he's going to be polishing that and sealing those. And we should have a ribbon cutting in the coming week and open. And I will be so happy to see those porta potties get on the flatbed truck and exit town. So,
Yeah. Will the ribbon be made of toilet paper?
Yeah.
you know, it won't. It'll be a recyclable material.
Good.
It's been a,
One can take a commemorative square home with them.
the good news is we're actually still ahead of schedule. Our commitment was April 20th, which is Easter break. Each state has different timing for Easter, and you're starting to see the people already come into town. And so having it open next week will be great, but we are actually on target. It didn't seem like it, seeing it sit over there with not a lot of activity, but there's a lot going on inside, even when you don't see something on the outside. So
Great to see the taillights going down the road.
you bet. Yeah, baby, I'm excited. I can't stand those porta potties, and I know the businesses around it don't like it either. Center Street beach access got restored after the water line break and the stairs washing out, and it's looking good. The Dancing Fishermen, which are the 3 wooden pieces over in the Sunset Pop-Up Park, right by our Sunset Pump Station at the bottom of Sunset and Sunset.
Yeah.
We want to one in Sunset. They are with a artist right now that is cutting it into pieces to make a mold to cast it in bronze. So he actually takes the piece itself and
Hmm.
makes a mold out of it and recasts it in bronze. And so it was a way for us to preserve that piece long-term, like we did the whale at Whale Park. That went through all the processes, TAC, council, you name it, and they said, go forth. So it is in, Walla Walla, Washington, being bronzed. Okay, I was asked by Janae to give an update on, wastewater and the, lawsuit that all of you guys have seen the announcement.
Okay.
And
Before you start, I just want to make sure I asked Karen to do this, but remember, this is a legal issue, so she is going to give us a brief. There's really no questions for us to be asking
Okay.
because she will not most likely be able to answer. So please, I appreciate your help with this.
thank
I
you.
would like to make a statement though afterward, if I could, unless it encompasses everything that I'm
Well, why don't we let
curious
her
about.
talk?
Of course,
and-
that's
Yeah.
what I said, yeah.
You know, there was somebody last week that said to me, you know, waste infrastructure is not sexy. I would disagree with that.
Exactly.
I think the list that I just gave you is pretty sexy. What this team has accomplished. I couldn't be more proud of the guys that work for me and what they do for this city every single day. It's not sexy in the sense that a lot of people don't see it because so many things are happening behind the scenes, or when a lot of you are sleeping, we're awake and we're doing our thing. So in that sense, I think my team's very sexy. This lawsuit just added another level of sexiness to it. And I'm gonna read you the official statement that the city has put out so that everybody hears it. And then I can tell you what actions we're taking as of right now beyond the projects that I've already talked to you about. Quote, the city of Cannon Beach strongly denies claims by the Northwest Environmental Defense Center, NEDC, that the city is violating the Federal Clean Water Act. For more than a decade, the city has diligently investigated sources of bacteria in stormwater, including intermittent discharges from the Gower Street and Tullavana outfalls. There has been no evidence that the bacteria come from the city's wastewater system or any other city operations. For several years, the city has conducted its own stormwater tests weekly, in addition to those conducted by the Oregon Department of Environmental Quality. The city also conducted smoke tests throughout Cannon Beach neighborhoods to identify potential cross connections between the stormwater and sanitary systems. Videos are run throughout the sanitary sewer lines to find potential leaks. Visual inspections are done regularly at the outfalls to determine if human fecal matter is being discharged. None of these tests have shown any sanitary sewer discharges coming through storm sewers. To quote myself, the city has done everything in its power to pinpoint a source of the bacteria, said Karen Labonte, the Public Works Director. The problem is not what NEDC is claiming. The city is reviewing the case with its legal counsel and cannot comment further at this time. So the Public Works Committee is very aware of all the projects that we work on. We talk about this every month in our meetings. But a couple things that I do want to point out, that, you know, the old saying about doing the same thing over and over, you know, expect a different outcome, you know.
Einstein.
So the Public Works team has kind of extended its tentacles into the untraditional area to be able to try to address this. And we've done that by working with the surrounding property owners in these areas where we're having these events. Moe's Restaurant has been wonderful working with us, looking at their grease traps, how their sewer system interconnects with that, and any potential of that exiting out onto the beach. OPRD State Parks that owns the bathroom there at the Tullavana Park, they've worked with us. to look at their sewer system, their foot wash station that we know people wash their kids off in, and little tykes that wear diapers. They rinse them off of that area and often leave the diaper behind. And to be able to determine where that's going. Okay, traditionally, foot wash stations are connected to a sewer system, so we wanted to investigate that. The same for Gower. We're working with Wayfair Restaurant, any big restaurant, and their maintenance of their grease traps are crucial to this issue. When there's overflows and what happens with that. Where there's grease, there's fecal matter, because it goes through our sewer system and it causes a lot of strain on our sewer system. So that's some of the things we're doing right now. We've smoke tested, we've run the TV, the lines. We spend $50,000 a year. $50,000 a year in just I&I. That's just this issue. And that has gone up over the years. I asked the council and the budget committee for more money every year. I incrementally increase that. I keep looking, our entire team. You can see the total wastewater budget in our current adopted budget, and you can see what we're putting in to infrastructure when it comes to wastewater. This issue's gone on for over 10 years, and we've actually had 3 city managers during that 10 years, and we've had 4 public works directors. So this is not something that has been on the back burner. There's been fresh sets of eyes throughout the years that this has been going on that has looked at this and tried to figure this out. With the exception of 1 employee, we have all new wastewater employees. So the guys that are touching this every day, there's been fresh sets of eyes working on that. Our folks on public works that do not work in wastewater, but support the overall team, have lent hands helping the wastewater team. Fresh sets of eyes looking at this. Talking about doing something different than what we've already done, and I spoke of working with those property owners. In addition to that, Trevor and I went out to Hillsborough and spent the day with DEQ several years ago to understand the microbial study that they're doing and try to get them to be able to tell us what type of fecal matter is being tested. Telling me there's fecal matter doesn't help me. We all know that there's horses and elk and dogs and you name it, cougars on that beach and on the rock. And so telling me there's fecal matter when I know the rock is covered with birds doesn't help me. And so during COVID, they lost all of their funding and they were on a break from this testing. DEQ spent that time to be able to develop a more detailed testing that would tell us if there's human fecal matter in that microbial study. They got additional funding to be able to do that, and that's been very helpful for us. So when you're talking the testing that's happening out on the beach, these are trace levels at the DNA level of fecal matter. This is not human feces and clumps and toilet paper and things that happen. It doesn't even, it's not even at the level of when we have an overflow, okay? And I'm not downplaying this at all. I'm trying to explain to you the level of what we're chasing, true needle in the haystack. So this is why it's important to say, okay, we have yet to be able to find with all these different leadership, all these different employees, can't find it in our system, all the money we're spending, let's start looking beyond that. Okay, so those are the things that we've done. You know, I tell people just because we don't speak about it daily doesn't mean that it's not happening. I mean, you can see, look at the budget and see what we're spending. we completed all of our 20-year wastewater master plan projects, with the exception of a couple that were associated with electronics that needs to be upgraded to go fully SCADA. And that takes years to get there. That's a huge financial expense. Outside of that, this wastewater team completed a 20-year master plan in 8 years. We're putting focus on this.
Okay.
So from pump station upgrades, wet well, floats, electronics, generators, out at the plant, the basin work. We've had 3 engineering firms that have come from a distance that have worked on projects with us that have said, this is one of the most well-kept, well-maintained wastewater plant we've ever seen. We just had a brand new engineering firm that worked with us on a project recently that made the same statement. DEQ comes out and audits us. Our audits have been positive every time. So we have a good relationship with DEQ. A call that we had most recently, they're at the same position that we are. They're starting to feel that it's something exterior to our system, and we're calling it recreational behavior. And what I mean by that is we've had numerous police reports with illegal dumping in our storm drains, RVs that dump their gray water down storm drains. We have numerous calls on people defecating in public, including down on the beach. During COVID, coming and going from work, I was picking up 12 to 14 piles of human feces on my way home and on my way to work. Every day, I tracked it. People were afraid to use the public bathrooms. Okay. Homeless encampments. A camp I personally cleared out behind the 2nd Street bathrooms near our wetland, Little Pompeii estuary, had so much feces in the site that I had never experienced something like that before. I called DEQ and said, do I need to report this? Okay, we are experiencing things that we have not traditionally experienced. So now we have to consider, if it's not the system, what is it that's causing this? And all these things can lead to those 2 outfalls out on the beach. When DEQ does their testing, they do ocean water testing. When the hits come up hot, we flip the sign. That's why for years we were convinced everything was coming off that rock down into the water. It was obvious what was causing the hot hits. Now at the DNA level and at the mouth of the storm outfall, this is where we're getting those other trace levels of fecal matter. And so that's what we're chasing. Okay. So all the things that I mentioned relative to calls that come in, complaints that come in, our own leadership, our own staff have seen people having their bonfires in the evening. Bathrooms close at 10 o'clock to prevent vandalism that we experience. And when you're out at the bonfire having your s'mores and snacks and drinks and there's no bathroom, where are people going?
And I totally agreed. I mean, I've been, on the dunes lately because of the king tides or high tides, and I've actually myself had to pick up human feces, and it's
Yes.
it's
Yeah,
not
me too.
the best thing, obviously, but you have to pick it up. But and I totally agree.
So DEQ and our team said, how do we deal with it when it's there? So the DEQ leadership team is working on a public campaign as we speak. It's not unique to our area. They're going to try to use it in other areas. They will be coming to council and talking in the April meeting about the microbial study and this public campaign that we're working on together. I've shared all of this information with DEQ so they can see that. And it's a matter of educating the public that when we have an event like this, what their behavior could be contributing to this. As simple as, like I say, washing off something in a foot station that's inappropriate. That goes into the storm drain that goes out to the beach, leaving a diaper behind, all these things. I don't know if any of you saw last week, the homeless camp that was cleared out at the junction, Highway 101 and 26. There were hundreds of thousands of pounds of trash bagged by ODOT and the county. And they pulled vehicles out, trailers out, and they had to have a Vector truck come and clean out all the feces
Wow.
that goes down into the storm drain. So anybody that thinks that we don't have an issue on the North Coast or in Cannon Beach, we do. So all these things are things that we have to consider. I would be happy to take the taxpayers' money, which includes my own, and rip up the streets of Cannon Beach and replace pipes that I don't see anything wrong with, but might be a culprit. That's not the good use of our taxpayer dollars. We should be fixing things that we know needs to be repaired and not be ripping streets up unnecessarily or wasting money trying to chase something that could be a source of another matter. And that's what we're working with DEQ to try to solve.
Karen, I just want to say I appreciate you, I appreciate your team, and I appreciate the city. I commend you guys for doing all this.
Mhm.
I have been actually part of those public work directors, and I know they have worked hard on trying to, take care of this issue. So it's not that, it has been going on for 10 years. And I have been fortunately, or unfortunately, to be part of it. But I know the city and Public Works has done a tremendous job working with this. So I commend you for doing this, and I appreciate that.
Yep. I appreciate the support that our leadership team has given us, the money they've given us to be able to execute these projects. We couldn't have done it without that. Luckily, we've been able to keep our wastewater rates at a minimum and make the improvements that I'm speaking of in the budget. And so if we didn't have that support, we wouldn't be able to execute as a public works team. So I'm very proud of what this team
I
has done.
love the approach of the fresh eyes.
Yep.
and the openness to solve this problem and
Yep.
find it. I think that's very, open. We don't know. I mean, all of a sudden, DEQ's, where is it coming from?
We want to find it and fix it
Yes.
as much as anybody else does. It's very disappointing that
Yeah.
anybody would think that this hasn't been top priority. I think our budget speaks for the fact that it has. And I'm more concerned about our community, tax-paying community, and the people that are invested in what we're doing here to clearly understand the actions that we're taking. Of course, I'm concerned about the tourists and what they think about Cannon Beach, but my first and foremost is what the community feels in this town as far as the focus that we're putting on the infrastructure. And I invite input from anybody that wants to ask, have you looked at this? Have you looked at that? We're an open book when it comes to what we're spending here in the budget. I love to educate people on what we're doing. And I know it's not sexy, but it really is. I mean, it's an interesting system, how our wastewater operates and functions. And it's fun to show people, you think it would be gross, but it's really not. And so I invite the questions, I invite the input, and I appreciate being able to update the committee.
Thank you, Karen. Steve,
Um,
do you have?
Yeah, I want to second Janae's comments. There are so many moving parts to the infrastructure that you guys work with, and it's an excellent job, I think, that you guys are doing.
Mhm.
And I really appreciate the statement that the city made. I want people to know that we are on this and not trying to hide anything. I also have been to many beaches, not only here in the US, but in other parts of the world where they do ban dogs from, in the summertime especially. You can stand out on the beach and you can watch many pet owners, and they just cover it up with a handful of sand and think it's okay. So I think the education part of that needs to be robust so that we can educate the public on their consequences of their actions when it comes to something like this. So thank you very much.
I really appreciate DEQ and their support and their involvement and their ideas and their input. They have been really good partners and support of us. I mean, they audit us and they scrutinize us and they're critical when they need to be. But they have demonstrated that they're trying in every way they can to help us. And the funding that we're getting for some of these projects is being sponsored by DEQ through these federal loans. So I consider them a partner, not a foe, you know.
Yeah.
I agree.
Well, they have to
Yeah.
be because it, like you said, it's expensive and it
Yes.
takes expertise because we haven't encountered everything and they've encountered much more than the city of Cannon Beach has. So
I was asked by someone recently, what do we do with the TV, of the lines? And I said, we look at it. It's like an endoscopy or a colonoscopy. It
Yeah.
takes a trained eye to understand what you're looking at. And it can be boring. But when you're on the hunt for something like this, it's really not. It's very helpful. It's just like a set of eyes. You're climbing through the tube, looking at what's in there. If there's a belly in the line, there's root intrusion. It's our eyes down through the infrastructure.
Good.
And we spend a lot of money doing it every year. So,
Well, thank you, Karen.
Welcome.
Now we can move on to a fun
One-
part, good
Yes.
order, but Karen has something for us here.
I would like to thank Mr. Steve Waite for your time, your input, your support and good perspective here on the Public Works Committee. I'm excited to see you on the Planning Commission because you're still within the loop of the things that we're doing. But I want to thank you for your time with us and present you this Public Works coin.
Wow.
Get him to sign. Okay, thank you.
very much.
Yep, you're welcome.
Almost like a knighthood.
Yes, fantastic, buddy.
Right.
Thank you, Steve.
You'll do a great job over
Thank you. I really appreciate you
Yeah.
guys and all
We will
the,
miss you.
everything I've learned here and hopefully I've been able to contribute. So
Oh, yeah.
thank you very much.
So when I come to the planning commission and I talk about things that I'd like you guys to consider, I'm gonna be thinking of you. on Scale, because now you understand, just like Les, I
Well,
think less
Oh, yeah, Les.
works, okay?
50 years in infrastructure.
I say, put the setbacks and stay out of my right of way, you understand?
I used to call it tribal knowledge.
Tribal knowledge
It's on the ground.
Yeah.
That's right. That's
Anything
right.
else for good of the order?
One thing I would like to do is just say one thing. This morning I checked the air quality, 18,
Uh-huh.
and that is fantastic.
Uh-huh.
So that's why I live here.
Yeah,
And it's like golf, the low score is the best. So we live in a great place.
Brenda?
one last
Dave.
thing, for good of the order and talk about sexiness. Doesn't anybody want to know about the cows?
Well.
Yeah.
I was going to ask that.
I was gonna go there and I was gonna say, I can't put you on the spot, but can you just give?
My brother Andy's got enough.
Oh, yeah, that's great.
Come on. Come on.
Coming up here?
Yeah, come on up.
Sure.
Oh,
Little update.
sore from, I've been moving tango. Yeah, so yesterday, the cows install officially was finished, with the hardware. So now all we're waiting on is the software. So, I had a phone call yesterday with ATI Systems and they're working on getting their schedule to send out their field manager to come out with their technicians to fully finish the install of the software program and then train the fire department, police members, city members who are going to have access to that. But all the hardware is fully installed and the subcontractor that did it was phenomenal. They did a really good job, really on top of it, very professional, worked hand in hand with Public Works. So I have to thank Public Works with how helpful they were. We used the plant out there in their storage to store all of the equipment in one of their bays. And so just like Trevor let them in there on the weekend. The guys worked after hours. But yeah, they're just a very good company. And so go around and take a look at the systems because everything is up and installed, not running yet. So to be determined on when the actual system will be up and running, hopefully sometime in the next few weeks. So
Great, thank you.
I just want to say thank you for getting this done and,
Yeah.
you're, accomplishing something that should have been done, but we're getting it done. And so thank you. I know Andy and I were in a class, a 2-day class, and I know he was pulled away. Okay,
Yeah.
I'm sure, he didn't mind getting out of that class, but,
Oh, wait, I wanted to be there, yeah.
but he has been working hard on getting us out.
Fantastic, thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you, Andy.
You see the guy that is the most physically fit guy in the city walk around in pain, you know he's working hard.
That and then, yeah, the tango moves, yeah, the cash out, yeah, it's almost, I'm gonna finish that today, so, yeah.
Expect no less.
Yeah, I know.
That's, the bar is much higher.
Now I'm excited for it. It's gonna be.
Good, thank you.
Thank you, buddy.
Thank
Yeah.
you.
Thanks, Andy.
Okay, if anybody else.
Yes, one other thing is, what is the temporary building, just in the parking lot? Just
That's a construction trailer.
construction, okay? Is that just well,
It's just temporary.
okay, very-
No, that's gonna be there.
It'll be there.
no,
That will be our signal.
okay.
Yeah.
And what are they constructing?
The building.
That's their offices for the
Renovation?
contractors, so they're on site when all this is being
Very
torn up and rebuilt. Yeah, so that, and then the trailers that you'll see out by the wastewater is the staff. Except
Yeah.
Trevor and I, and Mike Benefield and Sherry, we are gonna be at the satellite EOC at the Public Works Yard. Behind the gates where nobody can get to us. We can actually get something done, less interruptions.
All right, thank you.
Y'all.
Don, do you have anything for us?
No, I just been listening with interest. Hey, I had some comments I wanted to make, but under this on the whole contamination on the beach thing. But I think under the circumstances, better not to get into the weeds right now.
Great, thank you. I appreciate that. All
Yeah.
right, well, do I have a motion to adjourn?
You do.
Second.
Right. We have adjourned.